In 2005, Radek Sali started working at a small business called Swisse Multivitamins. In 2015, as part owner, he sold it for a lazy, you ready, 1.7 billion. Yeah, with a B. Oh, and just 9 months prior, he'd knocked back an offer of 30 million with an M. Want to know how he did it? Me too. Hey, before the craziness begins on episode 371 of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, the marketing gold that's about to rain down on us all is made possible thanks to Cornerstone and 52ways.biz. Now, 52ways.biz is a free one-day live event that's filling up fast, hosted by small business expert Dale Beaumont. And it's for business owners who want to grow. So basically everyone. You can grab your free tickets over at 52ways.biz. And there's some new dates announced for repeat performances in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane in late August. We're also made possible thanks to Cornerstone, which is an Aussie-owned, family-run outsourcing business based in the Philippines, which I love so much, I own a part of. Yeah. If you need to get more stuff done, if you want a virtual assistant, if you want to become more profitable, I would give Cornerstone a call on 029037 8275.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I am your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner. You're ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Oh boy, am I going to help you do that today, along with a very special guest. We are joined by the brains behind the Swisse Multivitamins brand, Radek Sali, who shares the tricks behind celebrity endorsement and the importance of building a rock-solid culture, which basically led to him selling the business last year for 1.7 billion. Unbelievable. We've got resident expert Dale Beaumont from 52 Ways, who brings back the GIF.
Bring out the GIMP. The GIMP sleep.
Not the GIMP, bringing back the GIF. Love that film. I share another low-cost marketing idea that'll increase your average dollar amount per sale. And we go back into the Small Business Big Marketing Vault, revisiting a past interview with the creator of the world's most viral marketing video. As per usual, team, there is marketing, what? What is it? GOLD, dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. I had to laugh. You know how a couple of episodes ago, I had a whinge about not enough people leaving comments in the show notes? The first one I get is a whinge. Love a whinge. I can't remember the fellow's name. I asked for comments. I certainly got one. It was for the Cater boot episode. You know, the girl Cara, who is making these fantastic Western boots. Someone said, you can't be serious when you agreed with your guest about the cost of an adult's boot starting at $349 being reasonable. Get serious, Timbo. Gotta love it. And then I said, well, I was serious. They're very good quality boots. And I ranted on about having a millionaire's mindset and blah, blah. He comes back and he goes, I don't agree with exploiting animals for our selfish needs when it's proven that you can thrive on a plant-based diet and produce footwear using ethical materials. Well, hey, that's cool. That's cool. I was looking for some more marketing kind of discussion and feedback. Anyway, there were some people who have left comments in the show notes, and for that, I thank you. I've responded to them all. All right, what's this button do?
Life just got a whole lot easier.
Hi,
Hi, it's Dale Beaumont here from 52ways.biz, the best one-day business workshop ever, with another productivity tool to make your business life a whole lot easier. So what is the tool that I have for you today? Well, it's called Giffy Captcha, and you can check it out by Googling Giffy Captcha. That'll take you to the website, and there you can download some software on your Mac or your PC. Now, this software is used to create a GIF. Now, hopefully you know what a GIF is, but if not, I'll quickly explain. It's basically a cross between a still image and a video. Think of it like a moving image. You may have seen them before being shared on social media, and now even Facebook allows you to share GIFs in the comments as well. But now you can use this tool to create your own GIFs, and these are very effective if you want to use them in your email broadcasts, or you may want to put them on your website as well to get more people clicking on your call to actions. So all you need to do is download this software, and then you can take a video that you may have put onto YouTube. Then you can place this box over the top of the actual video, play it for about 5 seconds and record it, and then it will take that particular video and turn it into a GIF image. If you want to find out more about this, you can come along to one of my free events where I give you a live demo. But right now, check out Giffy Captcha. It's a really cool tool. There you go. I told you life would get a whole lot easier. This has been Dale Beaumont from 52ways.biz. Now, back to you, Timbo.
Life just got a whole lot easier. Oh, I love it, Dale. Giffy Captcha. Great tool. I've seen Dale use it very effectively. Hey, if you're loving the productivity tools Dale is sharing, then you are going to love 52ways.biz, which is his live events, 8 hours of business building gold. And you can grab your tickets over at 52ways.biz, and they're free. Go with a mate. I did. And there are some new dates launched for Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. Repeat performances. Got to love that. Coming up after today's interview, I'll share another low-cost marketing idea in that segment we've all grown to love called What Have You Got to Lose? But right now, the interview you're about to hear, I'm putting it in my top 3. Yeah, I am. I know. Right there. I've said it. It's with 40-year-old retired CEO Radek Sali of Swisse Multivitamins, which is a wellness business that sells supplements, skincare and superfoods. In case you don't know that and you're in Australia, you've probably been living under a rock because Swisse is absolutely everywhere. I sat next to Radek recently at a Hawthorn Football Club function. Go Hawks! And I was pretty damn excited as the Swisse brand is one that I've admired from a distance for many, many years. I might have kind of fanboyed him a bit. I don't know. From its high-quality packaging to its brand consistency to its relentless celebrity endorsement efforts and high-frequency TV and print advertising schedule. By celebrity endorsements, we're talking like Nicole Kidman and the who's who of every industry and sport, basically. Swisse would have to be one of the most well-known and respected brands in Australia. Now, Radek started at Swisse in 2005 with no equity as the operations manager. He left there last year as part owner. He'll tell you how much equity he had, having sold the business for a lazy $1.7 billion. Brilliant. Hey, how's that for a small business success story? He attributes celebrity endorsement strategy and an honest and meaningful business culture to the brand's success. He's won, and his team have won some incredible awards. BRW's most successful business of the year, 2012 GQ Businessman of the Year, and in 2016, Ernst & Young's Young Entrepreneur of the Year for his industry. You're going to love this interview. Seriously, he's so humble, he's so transparent and so honest in what he shares. I started off by asking Radek what it was like to sell a business he'd part-owned and was instrumental in building for a lazy $1.7 billion. So, Radek, welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show.
Thanks for having me.
Finally.
Awesome to be here, finally.
After meeting at a Hawks event a few weeks ago.
Exactly.
We got you here. Now, mate, I want to start at the end and ask you, how did it feel to sell a small business that you were responsible for building for $1.7 billion?
It's still sort of sinking in. It felt, to be honest, like I'd been driving a Formula One car really, really fast and then suddenly the car disintegrated around me. and the shock of that was pretty full on at first, and but now you look back and you really feel like that some pretty unique things happened, and also unique things start to open up and.
So let me understand.
In terms of, so it's pretty surreal, I would say.
It's clearly still raw.
Yeah, look,
it's a year ago.
Yeah, look, it closed out in December of last year.
So the deal closed there was a date in December where it's like we're done.
That's right. So that's when it started to feel really real, because September 15 is when we actually got the first part of the transaction done.
2016.
Yeah. I don't know.
2015.
2015.
So just tell me about disintegration, because that seems like a negative word to me.
No.
So just you're driving this Formula One car, which is the Swisse Multivitamin brand.
Yes.
It's rocking, it's flying.
Yeah.
You do this, you do that, right?
Yeah.
And then what's the disintegration?
Well, I think that it comes from. I should give you context around that.
Yes.
The Ferrari is one of the best F1 teams, and I'm a big fan of Ferrari.
You got one?
There's a good story that goes with that, so I can tell you.
Let me just make that note.
Yeah, come back to that one. So the Ferrari technical director talks about building the perfect F1 car, and the perfect F1 car goes so fast and it goes so brilliantly that it sets lap records, and it runs faster around any corner than any other cars running, and so forth, and it pushes it right to the edge. But it, on the finish line, because it's gone so fast and you've driven it to the edge, it disintegrates.
Wow.
And that's
so this is a good thing.
Yeah, this is a good thing. This is the aim of a technical director of an F1 racing team, is to have a car that disintegrates on the line. So I truly felt like that our car got to that line and it disintegrated, but it was the perfect race.
Nothing left.
And
you got nothing. You've given it everything.
We're only racing that race, hey? So
brilliant. So,
hence the
that must
disintegration.
Be. But okay, so huge positive disintegration.
Yes.
Must be hugely emotional. Was
is.
there a moment upon when that date passed where we're not going back here? We've just sold for 1.7 billion. You've got some skin in that game. Can you tell us how much, just out of interest?
Yeah, I had 15%.
15%. Just do the numbers on that quickly, Steve. And was there a moment where you have collapsed, cried, got hugely emotional?
Well, there was a moment in September 15 where I thought I was going to get out at that time. And then 30 minutes before we were going to do the deal, I was told the great news that if I was to leave, I'd be sued for $100 million. Sooner than December of last year. So here I was thinking that I was going to jump out of the F1 car and needed to sort of do some work on myself and think about how that was going to be a condition that was sustainable for me, and what conditions I'd put back to ensure that I could get through that extra 14 months.
Did you get the speed wobbles? Let's keep using the racing.
We did.
You did. Did you just like,
we did.
This is just going, I can't cope?
Yeah, well, no, a little bit. I sort of intuitively knew that day wasn't going to be the day. I knew that we were going to leave a certain amount of shares in the business, and management were leaving more shares than others. And so we set ourselves for another run, and we successfully got on that last tranche of shares 20% more than the initial tranche of shares. So it worked out really well.
Okay. So was that getting out, just so I understand that, the speed wobbles was more about, I think we've got enough, more than like you're in above your head, you don't know what you're doing anymore? It wasn't that?
No, it wasn't anything like that.
Right.
It was just...
You're a tough guy.
Yeah. Well, I think that if you're in your business, you know what you're capable of doing, and I think that when you're selling your business, the best time to sell a business is when you've got momentum on your side and the business has still got plenty more to give, rather than there's nothing left in the tank and
what are you buying?
The business is going to be found out really quickly by the new owners and so forth. So I was really confident in the fact that we still had a big story to tell, and in fact our profits doubled in the year after the business was sold in September 15.
Because didn't you get, what was the offer in the year prior to selling for $1.7 billion?
Yeah, so 9 months prior to that, we were offered $30 million for the whole business. I had $15 million worth of debt against my 15%. Wow. So that would have left me in a lot of debt.
How can you? What was the one thing you did? Where's the silver bullet that you've gone from a valuation of $30 million to $1.7 billion in 9 months?
Well, there was no one silver bullet.
Two?
No, there was a build-up of a number of things that we could see in the business, and the banks could see in the business as well, and that's why they kept refinancing us and believing in us. It was just a case of, okay, well, do we want to de-risk now? And this is what the business is worth now, and this is what a group's prepared to pay, and we were seriously considering it. So,
but what did you do? What was the? Okay, there's not one thing you did, but how can you? I just don't understand how you can go from $30 million to $1.7 billion.
That's right. So, what we did was there was So 4 years, let's roll back 4 years from September 15, we started the Project Gold, probably 5 years. And Project Gold became what was code name for China operation, growing sales in China. And I went over to China and the US to look at opportunities in both of those countries. And I'd been travelling the world a lot with our executive team and just working out what would be our next move if we were to move internationally. Mm-hmm. So we went to China with someone that we would hire, basically a guy that was focused on international business, and he had relationships in China where he had sold raw materials to them or partnered with various organisations there for manufacturing. And relationships are all powerful in China. So we reconnected with those relationships, and they were all really keen to do something, but just for them, timing was wrong. At the same time, we went to the US, where relationships are a 1 hour meeting and everything's really positive, but it's just a different ball game in the way they think. So the US seemed to be a little easier from a Westerner's point of view, the rule of law, language, and the opportunity in terms of creating a premium brand and pharmacies and supermarkets and so forth are like what we see here. So and also the personalities that you use to drive your brands, such as we're using Nicole Kidman and TV shows like X Factor and
it's all similar.
Yeah, all very similar. So you're speaking the same language, and we just went and met retailers there rather than investors.
Right.
And the retailers got our message straight away, and we sort of had a few meetings with the likes of Walgreens, who have 8,000 stores across the country. You suddenly go. You suddenly talk to them about what we're doing, and they get really excited. And well, hang on, we're onto something here. And they kind of they got so excited that when we got back, we thought we're going to start thinking about the US, and they kept pushing us to get stock over to them, and we actually weren't ready to provide them stock, but. It's something
to sum that up, it was the relations, the partnerships that you built in China. It took a little bit longer that ended up paying the big dividend, right?
That's right. So that China investment in time, but the US launch got us connected with Nicole Kidman and Ellen DeGeneres.
Okay.
And it's all about hedging our bet.
Let's jump into that. There's so much I want to cover, and celebrity endorsement is one of them. They're like trying to timeline this thing. We'd be here for like years, right? So there are a number of factors that achieved the amazing success that you and your team at Swisse did. Celebrity endorsement as a marketing strategy was one of them, right? How did that come about? It's not a cheap way to go.
It was basically in the first 6 months of my role, I spent most of my time going around visiting all of our retailers and listening to them and basically understanding how the market worked. I spent time with our salespeople and just visiting health food stores as well. And I'd walk into pharmacies and there would be walls of Centrum. And
Centrum multivitamins.
That's right, the number one seller at the time of multivitamins. And I'd ask the pharmacist, I go, well, why do you give this brand so much space? And is it margin? And I'd say no, it's actually the worst margin in the category. Is it because the product works better than anyone else? No, you guys are the one. If I sell your multivitamin, I've always got a regular customer. So I go, well, so what is it? So they said, oh well, they give me this great point of sale, and there was a picture of Rob De Castella, who was a marathon runner from the Commonwealth Games. He
wasn't even an Olympian
in the 80s. I think he made the Olympics, but he didn't come in sort of a top 10 or 20 placing. But he did win a gold at the Commonwealth Games in the 80s. I'd moved across the Swisse in the mid 2000s. Yeah. So there's Deeks, and he was also on TV 52 weeks of the year with Centrum. So that to me got the mind thinking of how do we do something that's similar but a little bit better. And so we knew that we supplied product to Cricket Australia, and so we knew that Ricky Ponting would be on our multivitamin. So we called Ricky Ponting and his management, and we said, would you like to endorse our brand? What do you think of it? And he said, yeah, I'll take the product. It's fantastic. And we got Ricky Ponting on board. And then we came up with the way of, okay, well, great, we've got Ricky now. How are we going to actually tell people about that and do it in a way that's cost effective? Because we had nowhere near the funds to put us on 52 weeks a year TV. We just decided to advertise only in the cricket. And we shot 2 terrible ads. If you look at them now, they're laughable.
In what way?
Well, we had one of Ricky doing the housework around the house at a fast pace and
nasty.
sort of fast forward.
Yeah.
Mate, and that was all because of the multivitamin.
Yeah.
And another one of him sitting in a hotel room talking about what he takes on a trip overseas, and his bat, his helmet, and a Swisse multivitamin.
Nice.
And
no cliches there.
Exactly, it was full of cliches. And I knew we'd made it when I was driving into work, and it was Hughesy on the morning show, and they were getting people to call in on what was the most annoying advert. And guess what?
Yeah, Ricky Ponting.
We won.
Love it. So they're talking about you.
So we got cut through. So
is it? Okay, that's a good thing, right?
You want cut through,
sure,
and particularly when you're small and you're trying.
But even if they're talking negatively about you, I have a lot of business owners listening who get scared.
Bit of fun, smile, and it's okay. You want to be talked about.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with being a bit edgy occasionally. So
just the learnings there before you keep expanding on the endorsement strategy is that you've identified Centrum are winning with Deeks. You've identified Ricky Ponting as a leading Australian figure who's taking your product. Reach out to him. He's happy to endorse. But the clever part is you create average ads with him, but place them in the program, the cricket, in which he's appearing.
That's right.
Do those ads appear anywhere else with Ricky?
No. And that Nine would say
magic?
to me, we're going to give you some bonus ads outside of the cricket. I'd say, don't worry about it. Put it all in the cricket.
Wow.
And if you're going to give me any bonus ads, put them in the sports section around the news. But I wanted to make sure that whoever was watching that ad would have a high probability of liking Ricky and wanting to stop and listen to what he had to say. So that was really, really important. Then the other part of that is too, when you're explaining it to a retailer, okay, we're doing this great TV campaign, you simplify it. You say we're doing this great TV campaign with Ricky Ponting in the cricket. People get the fact that if you're in the cricket, they'll listen to Ricky and you're going to get a better cut through rather than we're targeting 25s to 40-year-olds and
this
males,
is genius.
and we're going to pick TV programs that are like that and so forth. Marketers get that, but someone that hasn't done a marketing degree doesn't.
Well, there's that element of wastage. I mean, it breaks my heart when I hear a small business owner advertising in, say, a major newspaper, and there's just so much wastage, whereas what you've got is people love cricket, they love Ricky, you're only advertising Ricky. I get it. I get it. So, okay, that's worked.
Yeah.
Retailers are starting to buy in. I guess you've got point of sale with Ricky on it.
That's right.
Yeah, holding the suitcase and
Absolutely,
the broom.
No.
Here we go.
Yeah.
What next?
So what next? What next was I had a meeting with Priceline, and I was telling the buyer there about how well Ricky was going, and she said to me, "Who's Ricky?"
Not a cricket fan.
Well, and that's the a lot of females in this country. So, and 95% of the Priceline consumer are female. Mind you, she got hassled by her male executives a few months later and saying, why aren't we doing a promotion with Swisse and Ricky Ponting? It gave us an opportunity to go back to them with a more female-friendly sport audience through the tennis, which has a much bigger female audience, and that did very, very well for them. But it opened the conversation up to talk. But yeah, so when she said to me that she didn't know who Ricky was, we've got to go and get a female ambassador. So sitting at home one night for dinner, Dancing with the Stars was on at mum and dad's house.
Yeah, not at your house.
No, yeah, old home.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there and mum doesn't watch much TV, and Dancing with the Stars was perennial, and there was Sonia Kruger, a bit edgy and good fun. And probably top of her game back then.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, she'd make a great ambassador. It was the number one rating TV program on TV at the time. So we called her management, and got through to her too, and asked her whether she took Swisse, and funnily enough, she did. And it goes back to...
Do you reckon she really did?
No, she did. So this goes back to this. Remember I was saying to the pharmacist, which product, is it because people come back for Centrum every time after they take it? And I said, no, that's your one. That if we recommend your product, people keep coming back for it. We actually have the highest retention out of any brand in the category, because that was always our position as premium. So, And that's why we could advertise like we did, because if you've got a great product, what can you do? You market
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I was
it's a simple part, and was a great product.
The best marketing is a great product.
That's right. So, they sort of work hand in hand.
Yes.
You can't be a fraudster in that space, yeah? So, and particularly go it as aggressively as we did.
Yep.
So, we had Sonia Kruger taking the product, and she was really happy to do a deal in the space. But Channel 7 weren't happy because we were this group that only spent $1 million in the last 12 months on TV.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we'd signed up the rights to their biggest star at the time.
I don't understand why they're not happy, because they don't own Sonia.
Yeah, she's an employee.
Oh, she's contracted to 7.
That's right. So, and there's only a limited amount a personality can do on TV in terms of endorsements. Otherwise, it becomes just too much. So they were like, oh, hang on, we will rather insurance company, car. So they rolled us in and said, well, what are you guys up to? How's this going to work? And so forth. And we managed to convince them that we're going to grow the category, and that it would be a really good idea to try advertising with Sonia in Dancing with the Stars, like we've done with Ricky in the cricket. And funnily enough, this had never happened. So it happened in sports shows, but never in a lifestyle show. Mm-hmm. And so it was pretty groundbreaking. We had to get a permission from the BBC, because the BBC owned Dancing with the Stars. And we got that. And we ran our advertising in Dancing with the Stars. And just like the Ricky model, we all of a sudden got this amazing cut through. Because, again, people watching Dancing with the Stars loved Sonia. And those that didn't like Sonia didn't know were linked to Sonia. And all of a sudden, we're getting this great niche core audience, which is mass.
So you're trading off two properties in the cricket and Dancing with the Stars that you really you have no invested interest in, except that you're running ads.
Correct.
Quite brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. No one done it before?
No one had done it before back then, yeah. Right. So now it happens all the time. And then the other trick component was that we create, rather than doing like a promotion right across the country with every retailer, what we did is, because we tried these promotions, and you'd get limited support from the retailers, that if the promotion was available at every retailer, such as win a trip to New York or Argentina to learn the salsa. We had like a dance-themed competition, or go and watch the cricket and go to the Ashes. When we did that across all of our retailers, it got limited support because it wasn't exclusive to the group that was in hand. So what we did is we actually made it exclusive to Chemist Warehouse, or then we'll make the next one exclusive to Priceline.
Yep.
And what would happen is we got much better support from that retail group as a result of that. And also it made it competitive, because then all of a sudden you'd get Woolworths wanting a promotion that they'd seen at Chemist Warehouse, or they would see Chemist Warehouse would be upset that they didn't get
so
this one. And you take that them going, oh, well, why didn't you offer it to us? You always go in there with a solution of, well, what about we do something else? And that then enabled us to do other programs and then also ensure the advertising we're doing. So we'd sell them in enough stock. We'd say, okay, if you want this promotion, you need to buy, and if the promotion was costing us $1 million, you need to buy $1 million worth of stock.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we'd always break even no matter what.
Break even. You, just to finish up on that endorsement discussion, like Nicole Kidman, I'm just trying to think, who's the top of the Swiss tree? Nicole Kidman in terms of...
She was the most expensive, yeah.
Was she? How much?
I can't say exact.
Ish.
in the millions of dollars
Wow.
per year. Yeah.
Per year.
Yeah.
And top three.
Top
three in expense, and then top three effectiveness.
Okay, so I can't ever point to anyone being more effective than the other.
Really?
Yeah, because there's all the thing around any sort of activity. It's not like a one-off event where you see an advert and you race straight out to buy a product. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing, you go from Ricky to Dancing with the Stars, then we went on to AFL, then we went on to the Olympics, then we did an Ellen Degeneres campaign.
You did Ellen Degeneres.
Yeah, we brought her out to Australia when we launched in the US and brought the whole show here. And that was a way to offset and hedge our risk in the US.
Right.
And it worked for us, in creating momentum in the US. But the retailers just didn't deliver.
So it's interesting because, again, I mean, we're talking to small business owners here. They love, they want to do take a marketing action and they want to see a sales result, which is understandable because budgets are limited, pockets are shallow. You, on the other hand, is it that you can, in the corporate marketing world, afford to just do brand awareness?
No. We had a sales and marketing director, and would always connect the sale to marketing. So as I was saying before, we offset any of these promotions with a retailer agreeing to buy enough stock to underpin. So we became a huge corporate thinking like a small business in connecting the sale to the marketing.
Always connecting the sales
to the marketing. So that's why we brought Ellen to Australia, because it made us actually the number one brand in Australia, as well as launched us in the US. Yep. And as a result of becoming the number one brand in Australia, we awoke in this big Chinese market locally here in Australia, where there's 1 million local Chinese nationals, there's 1 million tourists that travel through Australia, and there's 500,000 Chinese students.
They love this category. I spoke recently at a USANA conference, which is a direct marketing company selling a lot of...
Well.
Okay.
Good multivitamin.
Good what?
Good multivitamin.
I guess it is. I don't know.
6 or 9 of them a day.
It's a major problem. But 90% of the audience were Asian, and I spoke in New Zealand and Australia. I've just been up to Cairns recently, and for whatever reason, weird Timbo, I guess, I was standing in the Coles buying a couple of things. I had the man flu, and I was standing in that aisle, and I was just watching some Asian people. There's a lot of Japanese up there. Yeah. They're just interrogating the vitamins and all that stuff. They love it. No wonder you got 1.7 billion selling to a Chinese company. Hey,
that same Chinese company was one of the companies we met in China 5 years before we did the sale. Who said the timing wasn't right for them?
Partnerships,
so exactly, relationship, and we kept connecting back with them, and eventually got a deal done with them.
Just to finish, you can't say who the top 3 most effective celebrities were. They all had a similar impact. What about the top 3 most expensive? Ellen, Nicole.
Ellen was the most expensive, but that's because we owned the whole show, and we did a whole lot of activity over an intensive period of time. Nicole was the most expensive, not for the whole period of time that we worked with her, and she's still an ambassador. So, but again, probably most effective on a global scale. I mean, if you go to Asia, she's an ambassador for Omega, Chanel, and there are billboards of her everywhere. So she just speaks to that audience really, really well. And then you'd have the Olympics and the Olympic rings, and that was a fantastic partnership for us. And we were the first vitamin brand to sponsor the Olympics. And
Radek, and by the way, listeners, I am speaking to Radek Sali, who is the retired, at the ripe old age of what?
40.
Retired CEO of the Swisse Group. I haven't forgotten the Ferrari question. I will come back to that at the end. I'm going to be really naive here, and I've said on my show before, I'd be driving around with my son who was doing business management at school in year 12 a couple of years ago, and he'd go, Dad, how does that cafe make money? I'm like, Jack, I don't know, mate. Got to sell a lot of coffee, and they're happy to take minimum wage. I just don't get it, right? There's a lot of businesses I look at like that. Swisse is no different, because all I see over the last few years as a consumer and as a marketing guy who's looked upon what you've been doing in awe, I just go, there's hundreds of millions of dollars. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but there's hundreds of millions of dollars going out. Olympic endorsement, Ellen DeGeneres, Nicole Kidman. Like, you got to sell so many little vitamin tablets to get that money back and then make a lot. What am I missing?
Well, I think that we always knew that we could switch off the advertising. So it's not like building a factory and the plant and equipment and the ongoing costs that go with that. Your marketing costs, they're an investment in brand, and they do make an impact, as we all well know. But the bank doesn't treat it the same way. Your capital investment's treated. So. But the benefit is that if things go bad, you've still got this great momentum of brand advertising that you've done, sales creation, and people creating this sort of loyal connection with your brand that keep coming back as a result of trying your brand through the advertising they've potentially seen. And remember, we had this highest retention, so when they're trying it, we'll keep the most amount of customers. So our big thing was about getting people to try our product.
Right.
And all our research pointed to when people tried our product, they would stick with it.
Clearly the lifetime value of a customer is huge.
It's fantastic.
And I'm guessing the margins, I stand at the counter at Chemist Warehouse. I have a bit of a Chemist Warehouse fetish. I interviewed Jack Gantz, the owner, only a few weeks ago.
After this.
What's that?
It's Damien Gantz and I are still great friends.
Great.
So seeing him after this.
No, so... I have a bit of a Chemist Warehouse fetish.
They're amazing.
I'm standing there looking at Swisse vitamins and I'm going, it's $60. It's expensive. I've got to buy the 4 to kind of make it all, the potion. And the margins must be huge, surely.
The margins weren't initially, but we broke down a very lazy supply chain. And that was a huge part of our success, was breaking that down and getting rid of middle people. Simplifying the amount of times the product needed to be tested rather than buying it through an agent, and getting tested each time. Going straight to farms and working with
Did you own
farmers.
a lot more of the supply chain, or you just got rid of components of it that were...
We just worked directly with those that were core to it, and also went and worked with the most efficient manufacturers globally. So, and that forced manufacturers here in Australia to become more efficient and effective in the way they went about stuff. And volume was another big thing. So we replaced discounts for product. And as a result of that, we're creating more product.
What do you mean you replaced discounts for product?
You know how you give a trade discount when you sell something? Yep. Instead of giving that trade discount off invoice, we'd say we'll give you product.
Aha, give you more product.
Yes, which is more valuable to the retailer.
Of course.
Can be dangerous because it can stuff your supply chain with stock.
Yeah. Why aren't you buying from us? You gave us so much last time.
So when you're doing it, you really need to make sure you've got a really strong point of sale campaign that sells product through at the right price, and you're really focusing on managing your stock right throughout, because we did get caught out a few times with too much stock in the marketplace.
Okay.
We got really, really good at that. And as a result of that, we were manufacturing volumes far greater than anyone else in the world. So our product quality was better than it had ever been, but the efficiencies were making product at 30% less cost than what we were 5-10 years prior to that.
Similar story, Declan Lee, who is the founder of Gelato Messino, which is one of the great gelato brands, right? And, he was in this chair recently and talking about they've gone and bought the hazelnut farm because they just want to do, it's the cheapest route to market and it's going to be better hazelnuts. They've bought Jersey cows and land down in Dalesford. They're going to do the milk for the gelato. And it's like... Yeah. Cutting costs and getting a better product as a result, right?
That's right. It's amazing what happens when you dig into the supply chain.
Oh, Radek, mate, I love your story. Let's talk culture. Let's talk culture because in chatting to you the other day, there was celebrity endorsement that underpinned Swisse's success. The other thing was the culture that you'd created. Before you tell us about the culture, what kind of a CEO were you?
Yeah. I was I was a bit different. I was a CEO that likes to listen, loves to admit when I'm wrong, wear that as a bit of a badge of honour, but truly believe the sky's the beginning and always see greater opportunity as a result of having a go rather than not and looking for excuses for why we shouldn't do something. We want to work out how we can do it and how we can do it better than others. So.
Really? That sounds amazing. Like almost like. Give me an example of where you walked that talk, where you stood in front of your staff who clearly look up to you. This young gun CEO of Australia's biggest brand, and you've gone, guys, didn't quite get this right.
Oh, there'd be countless examples that I'd go through.
You almost enjoy it, did you?
But yeah, it was awesome.
What can I admit today where I mucked up?
So I'd talk a lot about the US and how we went over there with not enough money and weren't prepared. And we ended up with $70 million worth of debt and zero profit. And I needed to convince the banks that we had a way of getting out of that situation, but also needed to convince our team that we were going to do the right things to pay down that debt and make sure that they had a great career. And
so there's a lot of business owners
thrive.
listening. What's the secret to convincing people to come along?
Honesty, regular communication, look, I think those two things are key, and making sure you bring people along for that journey, but also making sure that when green shoots start to show, you start to share the benefit of that, and you give back a lot of the things perhaps you've had to turn down through more difficult times.
You mean like profit sharing and sharing the riches?
Exactly, profit sharing, creating a great culture, making sure that culture's still very good in difficult times, but you can't do everything that you potentially do in great times to create a great culture.
I wonder how many CEOs and just bosses of businesses don't communicate and don't share. For my first 10 years of my career in advertising, I worked at Clemenger's, and Peter Clemenger, we had this building which was 4 stories and it was mezzanine, so you could stand on the 4th floor and look down to the 2nd floor. Yeah. So Peter Clemenger, there'd be this announcement every couple of weeks, and Peter, everyone would be congregating on the 2nd floor. Peter would be up on the 4th floor. It was like, I'm never coming down to your level. But what he did do was share where we're at. We lost this pitch, we won this pitch, we got this award, we got this. And I remember as a young upstart account bloke, I was like, I really like this. And I still look back on those times when there's this guy who I admired so much was sharing. He'd never admit mistakes, Peter Clemenger. If you're listening, Pete, love your work. But still he was sharing. I think it's great. Honesty and communication. Yeah.
And we had a comms plan that went with that. So there were things like monthly newsletters that I'd have to write. And I didn't really enjoy writing those.
Newsletters? It's very old school.
Exactly. But it was really, really important for the team. And it wouldn't be for everyone. Otherwise it might be the presentation I'll do once a week or once a month, depending on how the business was trading. If it was trading really tough, we'll do them weekly. And I'd be standing up in front of everyone. I go back to the analogy of, I don't know if many of your listeners here have husbands, wives, boyfriend, girlfriend.
Probably.
Yeah, and I bet all of them, or even children or parents, all of them at one time or another have been told that you don't listen to me. And these are the people that we love most in our lives. So I take that analogy to the workplace. Who's going to be listening to someone they're not in love with, hey? That aren't family. So you really need to put a big effort into comms, and you do need to make sure that you do it in all various formats. So for some it may work, that sort of presentation like you talked about. Others it might be that they need to read something and digest it. So we really thought about that at Swisse, and that helped us a lot.
You, as a CEO running this brand, have had huge successes. You're an honest fella, Radek. Was there a moment when you can remember that ego got in the way of you being the best person you can be?
Funny, I think definitely we've all got a shine to ego occasionally getting the better of us. It's just being aware of that and being conscious of it. And I think that if you do work on yourself, like things like meditation, where you've got a greater awareness of why you're doing things in the present moment, you start to get a sense of that ego is probably not the best of friends. It can be a great thing to drive motive and set goals.
Yep.
But it shouldn't be the decision maker in a moment. Yeah.
You've got 3 pillars: premium, proven, aspirational, that you talk about being almost filters that transcend every aspect of the Swisse brand's success. Can you just tell us about those?
So it was about setting up a brand architecture that enabled people to make decisions while the key people weren't in the room. And whenever we were doing something, we needed to consider those 3 pillars as a way of creating an advert or creating a product or even doing an activity that sort of reinforced what our culture was about. It would always be considerate of premium, proven, and aspirational, and that anchor would enable for the right decisions to be consistently made, and also what we'd do is we'd talk about examples of what it was to be premium or what it was to be aspirational.
So, and that would work for office fit out to celebrity choice to
hiring new team members, right throughout. So we'd always think about those key buckets in ensuring that we stayed on brand.
How do you get...
And everything we did would reinforce what our brand.
How many staff?
We got up to 400 in the end.
How do you get 400 to kind of buy into something like that?
You got to go back to simplifying it even a step further, where we had our culture, which was people, principles, and passion coming before profit, and we had this culture plan that sat next to our business plan, and so what we'd do is we would say, okay, what does a people action mean to you? And we'd run workshops with the various areas of the business. And of course, a people action would be very different from an executive team's point of view to, say, our warehouse and logistics team's point of view, what it meant to reinforce our people values.
Okay.
So we'd run these workshops regularly across our business in aligning people and getting people understanding what our values were about, and then we'd bring them through the whole journey and through to our business plan, and then we would have example behaviours of how we could be successful that we would all have buy-in on, and then also reward people for acting the way we were talking about was the right way to act for success.
Mate, it's a great story, Radek. Do you drive a Ferrari?
Occasionally. So my father bought a Ferrari in celebration of me coming about 40 years ago, and he paid, I think it was $14,000 for his 4-seater Ferrari, and he picked it up in Italy. He's a surgeon, and he was studying in Scotland, and so he bought a Ferrari, and I always grew up with that Ferrari being a highly aspirational thing in our garage that he would only very rarely drive because it cost so much to service and so forth. So it was a real special event to go out in the Ferrari. Anyway, so that was always something that I wanted to do when I was able to afford it. So that was the thing I treated myself to.
Good on you,
did
mate.
The deal
I would have gone
a 4-seater Ferrari.
A 4-seater?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know they existed.
They do, yeah. So and Dad had a 4-seater as well. So
what?
Yeah. So
I've even been to the Ferrari factory in Modena.
And there you go. It's FF Ferrari. So it's the it's as closer thing that they would build to a 4-wheel drive that they will build. It's all-wheel drive, and you can put your mountain bike in the back.
All right, mate. I think your ego's getting a bit ahead of you right now. I would have gone the Lambo personally,
Lambo? That's an experience turning on one of those engines.
Oh boy! I've never done it, but every time I see one,
just
I'm like,
less practical though.
Less practical, is it?
It's got the 4-wheel drive version.
Hey, listen, before I let you go, 15% of a lot of money is a lot of money. It feels like there's a lot left in you. I'm guessing you're kind of rewarding yourself with
cars and holidays and
Yep.
downtime with
Growing
the
my
family.
hair.
Growing your hair.
Yeah.
You had no hair when you were at Swisse, and now you're taking the hair supplement. And, geez, it works.
It's growing out.
You're having some fun. You rang me yesterday, and I picked up quickly. You were talking to your dog in a baby voice. Busted.
My wife overheard that. She goes, did that guy pick up the phone when you're calling through? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Goes, don't worry. He's a dog owner. It's fine.
Yeah. You're relaxed. You've got this new business called Light Warrior.
That's right.
What's it going to be?
So Light Warrior is run by the gentleman who sold the Swisse business with Goldman's, and he's come across to work with me, and we're in partnership, and we run this investment and ventures firm. And
Investment Adventures Firm.
And ventures.
And
firm.
ventures.
And ventures, yeah. So the investment part is essentially investment in safe investments and so forth. And then there's the ventures part, which is investing in higher risk type businesses, mini Swisses. And so we've got 7 of those on board so
So
far.
are you a venture capitalist?
Yeah, so
Is
we
that
do
what
do a
it
bit
is?
of that, but we want to make sure that whatever we invest in, it's around social impact and about making sure that we're creating a great culture and making a better society. So we've got 7 of those businesses, keeps us really busy.
What's an example of one? What's your favourite one?
There's no favourite.
I bet there is.
The favourite part of it all is the diversity. Yeah, so having something new to talk about each time I go into a different business. So and because for so long I've always been in one business and talking about one set of issues. Yep. That's what I love about the role, and that's what's really important to me. So, that's called Light Warrior. It's what my wife said to me when she fell in love with me, that I was her light warrior. And we've created so it's stuck. And then we've created a foundation called Light Folk, and the warriors are out there protecting the light folk. And my wife runs that foundation, and she's bought a wellness and wisdom retreat. And we've also made a significant amount of donations to education and medicine. And this wellness and wisdom retreat will be really, really quite unique. It'll be not for profit, and it'll have.
Where is it?
It's down in Red Hill. And it'll have
my part of the world.
Yeah, so it'll have some amazing restaurants, some amazing educational courses, connection to cultures such as Indigenous culture, through to ancient cultures around things like meditation, through to the different prophets and respecting all of their viewpoints.
Buddy,
so it should be a fun spiritual journey.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I really look forward to following that.
Thank you.
Light Warrior having impact, looking for things that have a social impact. I know a really good podcast that's impacting a lot of small business owners around the world looking for support.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on it right now. Hey, Radek Sali, Light Warrior, thanks for sharing, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Love chatting.
Cheers. Our
What
pleasure.
a great story.
Well, there you go, team. Radek Sali, retired CEO and part owner, now multi-gazillionaire of the Swisse Multivitamin brand. I Facebook lived that interview, so if you wanted to sort of see that interview, maybe listen to it a second time and watch it, you can head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com /371. Coming up, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Radek. Plus, I'll show you how to increase the dollar amount per sale with one simple email almost every time. But first, it's time to get more done in your business, I think, without spending a fortune.
Support for this show comes from Cornerstone, an Aussie-owned, family-run offshoring business based in the Philippines. You know, one of the great fears business owners have about offshoring is whether the people are suitably qualified, which may be a little unfounded. I asked Cheska, Cornerstone's marketing manager, to share her background.
I was a consistent university scholar. I was a president's lister and a consistent college scholar as well. So I graduated magna cum laude. And
That's where the high five right
yeah, I know. You've been waiting for that, Timbo.
It was a build-up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I graduated magna cum laude and I ranked 2nd in the whole university.
Cornerstone, where the idea of employing someone smarter than yourself is not just encouraged, but welcomed with open arms. Start working smarter now and employ a virtual marketing assistant. Visit cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au or give them a call on 02 9083 6689. And tell them Timbo sent you.
Righto, my top 5. I know it's normally top 3. I couldn't get it down to 3. Attention grabbers from my chat with Swisse Multivitamins' Radek Sali, thanks to 52ways.biz and Cornerstone. Attention grabber number 1. I love the idea that as brand builders, we're part of a Ferrari Formula One crew. At least that's how we should view ourselves. And that whatever we're working on, we should do it at full throttle, ready for it all to disintegrate once we get to the finish line. Love that. Attention grabber number 2. I love Radek's quote, "The sky is just the beginning." Talk about glass half full. Radek is one of the more optimistic people I think I have ever met. And I love how he's always looking for a way to make something work. Are you? I'm not. Sometimes I find ways to make it not work. It annoys me. Glass half full. Sky's just the beginning. Attention grabber number 3. I love how he visited his retailers when he first stepped into the business all those years ago. You know, if he hadn't done that, he wouldn't have uncovered the celebrity endorsement strategy that Centrum were using so well, and then he beat it. Attention grabber number 4. I loved Radek's modesty. I mean, the guy's responsible for building one of Australia's most successful brands. He's made $255 million in doing so, but his ego, very, very in check. Love it. Attention grabber number 5. I loved the 3 pillars of premium, proven, and aspirational through which all Swisse Multivitamin business decisions were evaluated and made. 3 brand pillars. Have you got yours? I'd be interested to know. I'd also be interested to know what grabbed your attention. Send me a smoke signal.
What have you got to lose?
Oh yes, it's time for one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can implement today. It's not going to cost you a fortune. It might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, and ultimately more sales. And I call today's idea the Awesome Upsell email. You know, sometimes all you have to do is ask. That's really what the Awesome Upsell email is all about. It's you going out of your way to proactively ask your customers if they'd buy again. To send effective upsell emails, you have to convince people that you're just trying to help and avoid coming across as too forceful or annoying. Most importantly, your upsell email needs context. Your customers need to be able to easily recognise why they are getting the email you're sending them, and your call to action needs to be crystal clear. So, for example, if you bought my book, The Boomerang Effect, then you might get an email from me asking if you'd like to purchase an hour's marketing coaching. That makes sense. Or if you run a bed and breakfast, you might email people who book with the offer of a spa treatment. Might partner up with the spa down the road. So here's my 3 steps to getting more dough from your emails. Step 1, decide what kind of upsell you can make to your customers. Remember, the purpose of the email is to add value and to help, in addition to boosting conversions and sales. Step 2, create your upsell email using your email marketing client. If you don't have one, then check out ActiveCampaign, which is what I use, or MailChimp. Step 3, send out your offer and actively track the responses. If it's a no-brainer and simple to purchase, you should get a 50+% conversion. And here's my pro tip. Keep your upsell simple. So avoid lots of options and keep it relevant so that it makes sense for your customer to buy the upsell given what they've just already purchased from you. Hey, and if you want to go nuts, then make it time sensitive as well. There you go. That's my 3 steps to creating an awesome upsell email. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/371 where you'll find a link to this post plus some additional resources to bring this idea to life, including a great post on the anatomy of an awesome upsell email. So, what have you got to lose? Well, that almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. But don't stress, there is plenty of marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead. including a chat with a photographer who got tired of taking photos and is now running the business of his dreams. Plus, one of Australia's leading chefs reveals what appearing on MasterChef has done for his personal and business brands. Hey, have you listened to the chat I had a few years ago with Melissa Coker? She owns a small fashion label in downtown LA and at the time was responsible for creating the world's most viral marketing video that was called First Kiss.
I think that First Kiss was sort of a prime example of the fact that, you know, it's all about ideas and getting people engaged and sharing your content. When we set out to do this film in particular, I was studying a lot about the success of sites like BuzzFeed and Upworthy, and not only, you know, why they were working, but how they were working. And one thing that really stood out to me was the fact that they'd sort of hit on this idea that emotional content is a way to really connect with people out there, and also to get them to share your content and your ideas. Yeah. So, you know, this has been a phenomenal example of that really, you know, illustrating that point.
Oh, was it ever? Gotta love that emotional content. Hey, if you haven't seen the First Kiss video, then check it out. It's amazing. As of today, it's had 122 million views. And if you're keen to understand how and why it was created, then you'll love my chat with Melissa, which you'll find over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, along with hundreds more, or you can subscribe free on your favourite podcast catcher, which I would love you to do. Hey, I'd also love to hear from you. Tim at timreid, reid.com.au, at Timbo Reid on Twitter. You'll find the Small Business Big Marketing Show on Facebook. And be sure to grab your free seat at Dale Beaumont's 52 Ways events that are touring Australia and New Zealand in June and August. New dates, new seats launched for Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney for late August. Head over to 52ways.biz, grab your free seats. Plus, if your to-do list is freaking you out, then it's time to start building that team in the Philippines, I'd suggest. Give Cornerstone's David Warner buzz on 0290378275 or visit cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au. If you love the Small Business Big Marketing Show, why wouldn't you? Then let another business owner know about it. Grab their phone, open the podcast app, look for the show, the Small Business Big Marketing Show, and subscribe for them. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thanks for tuning in. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.